Hello and welcome to The Lucky Roll, an eclectic channel for eclectic games. And today we're reviewing Luzon Rails by Robin David. A game for 3 to 5 players set upon the island of Luzon in the Philippines, where the objective of the game is to become the richest player. Players acquire wealth by investing and buying shares in 5 separate rail companies that are all competing to develop the rail infrastructure on the island. At the end of every round, dividends are paid to the shareholders of these companies, and the more shares that players have, the more they reap the profits from the dividends paid out. At the start of the game, players bid for shares in one of 5 companies, continuing on with each company selling a share to the player base. Once at least one share in each company has been sold, the game is ready to begin. What makes the initial auction process ingenious is the amount of money that has been invested in the shares. A player, for example, may have paid an expensive 15 pesos to get a share in Singtala Railways, for example, but that in turn gives Singtala Railways a pool of 15 pesos to develop its infrastructure from. Whereas a player that only spent 2 pesos for a share in Klingson Industries will find that that company only has 2 pesos with which to develop its infrastructure. You may therefore have gotten the benefit of a cheap share to start with, but now you have limited scope for initial development. During a turn, players may opt to play a card from their hand or from the pool of cards at the base of the game, allowing various actions to take place. Players can build tracks, develop infrastructure on a hex where tracks have already been built, invest in a company, or put a share of a company of their choice up for their auction. Each option has its cost and benefit. For example, building tracks allows players to grow the company, and each track placed will cost the company a minimum of 1 peso. So, in the case of our initial auctions, where Singtala Railways had 15 pesos in the kitty and Klingson Industries only had 2 pesos in its kitty, shareholders will find that Singtala Railways will develop significantly faster than Klingson Industries over time. The round ends when the pool of cards at the base of the board has been used up. Dividends are then paid and a new pool of cards is drawn. The game itself ends when certain conditions are reached, such as players completing the 6th round, 3 companies having no shares left to sell, or 3 companies having 3 or fewer tracks remaining. The element that intrigues me most about this game is competitors becoming allies once they buy a share in your company, and competitors undermining your companies by selling more shares in it. One of the more memorable moments from a recent game for me was when 2 fellow players had an intense bidding war over a share in Klingson Industries, with the first player trying to secure their monopoly and the second player trying to get in on what was obviously a good investment. Their initial rivalry, once the auction was over, changed almost immediately to them becoming game-long allies, because both had now invested so much in this company. They spent the bulk of the game developing Klingson Industries together, and their hard work paid off, but not quite in the way they had hoped. Seeing the potential in their investments, I had waited in the long grass until there was a cash flow problem for both, and then instigated an auction of my own in their company and bought my way in for a knockdown price, ensuring that the dividends of all their hard work paid out for me as well, much to their annoyance. The overall winner of the game is the person with the most money. Simple and brutal as that. It's a mechanic that is both refreshing and liberating. There are no victory points for development or incentives to own as many companies as possible. Just plain old-fashioned trading where cash is king and venture capitalism rules. The game itself is nice and big, and the art style of the board has a lovely, nice 1890s vibe to it, which reflects the time when the first railway infrastructure on the island of Luzon actually took place. The game, whilst initially difficult to grasp conceptually for the casual player, becomes incredibly simple to play once the second round is underway, and the possibilities of the game open up to a great degree, where players find themselves unlikely allies and looking for ways to develop their own portfolios independent of others, whilst ensuring that they have a share in the companies of others, so that when they develop, you also reap the rewards. Lose on Rails is a wonderful little game that is a refreshing take on the rail development genre, well worth a savvy investment of your own. And until next time, this is Sean from The Lucky Roll. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. And until next time, good luck, God bless, and stay safe.